The intrepid travelers, along with Jim, the new stand-in groundman, upon arrival, they drank an early cup of coffee before heading out to the manor house. They took the hot air balloon to its usual takeoff spot in the field behind the barn. Nathalie, Alex, Monty, and Willow were all fast asleep at home, having no idea what the professor was about to attempt or why. The professor was the first to reach the barn. It was, after all, just a few strides across his courtyard. The others had to drive a couple of miles to reach the professor's house. By the time they had all arrived, the professor had warmed up the diesel-powered Land Rover and loaded the provisions for the flight. He added some extra flasks of coffee, a pack of 6 warmed croissants, first aid kit, along with Jeppesen air charts of London, southern England, and the English Channel for good measure. He had also managed to check the communication batteries and completed a pre-flight check of the altimeter and the wind speed indicator. They all clambered into the short wheel-based Land Rover for the journey across the field to the takeoff zone, a small clearing on the professor's property. With Jim's extra pair of hands, unpacking and preparing for the flight was much easier. The gondola was quickly in place, with the propane tanks attached, the burners fitted, balloon hooked up, and the envelope filling with air in less than 20 minutes. Soon, they would be able to start the burners to expand the balloon with hot air. There was very little wind at almost all heights today. The crisp October air left short vapor trails with each breath. Everyone was glad to be wearing a series of layers of clothing, ending in a trusty parka jacket with a fur-lined hood, to keep them warm on the flight. They had attached the gondola to the Land Rover to prevent the balloon taking a flight all by itself, something that it could easily do if you weren't prepared for that odd puff of wind. As the balloon rose majestically to its full height, the professor contacted air traffic control to inform them of his expected course, which was nowhere near Savile Row in central London. Golf, Bravo, Zulu, Tango, Alpha was soon cleared for its short flight. Simon, Tony, and then the professor all climbed into the gondola. Jim let go of the headline, walking to the tethering line attaching to the Land Rover. A final look to see if everything was set, a quick nod from the professor, and the balloon was free to soar into the air, which it did with the help of the 2 huge propane burners consuming around 20 gallons of propane per hour. The fully inflated balloon was huge, 55 feet wide and 70 feet high, with a volume of some 77,150 cubic feet. The brightly colored balloon was quite a majestic sight, rising into the sky on this clear morning. The altimeter quickly showed a height of 1,000 feet. The planned height was 2,400 feet, or just below the ceiling for visual flights. The professor took the globe out of his pocket. It was, as before, warm with a red beam of light, slowing the rate of ascent. The professor again looked at the globe, which had now turned green. He suggested that they look below. All they could see was a haze, which had mysteriously, suddenly appeared. Opening some veins on the sides of the balloon, the professor allowed the balloon to descend. Slowly, it began to break through what they thought was early morning mist into a clearer sky. As they did, they saw not fields, but a large, bustling, modern city. It didn't take long for them to see that it was London, and they wondered if London had seen them as well. Immediately below them, a band was playing on a roof with a number of people watching. Even larger crowds were gathered in the street below, looking up. The songs could be clearly heard by them. Let It Be, and then Get Back. It was definitely the Beatles singing their last live concert. Simon was stunned. Tony just looked on, enjoying the music, while the professor keenly looked for clues about this flight. The band's last live song, Get Back, was on its third take as some policemen arrived on the roof. At the end, John Lennon was saying, "I'd like to thank on behalf of the group and ourselves, and I hope we pass the audition." The music came to an abrupt end at this point. The professor, fearing they may be spotted, quickly opened his Jeppesen chart of Meofam. He pulled out the globe, which was sending out of a green light, and placed it over the map. The beam changed to blue, finally turning red as he ran the beam over Meofam. He then returned the globe to his pocket. The balloon was again enveloped in a swirling mist. They started their descent with the mist clearing after a few moments. They all looked down, and sure enough, they could see the fields around familiar Meofam in the present day. There was the church with its square tower, the railway line, railway station, and Kammer Park. The professor chose Kammer Park with its large open expanse of grass in which to land. He called Jim on the radio to let him know they were arriving in the park. Jim said he had them in view the whole time except for a 5 to 10 minute spell when they disappeared into a light haze. The professor was going to say more, but decided to wait until they were back home. Easing the descent with short blasts from the burners, the balloon fell from the sky. Kammer Park was a large park that had been gifted to the people of Meofam. There was also a community center with public conveniences in the large car park. The professor decided to aim for the center of the park. That would be a much safer place to send down, as they could shout to anyone nearby to mind out or take care, and it was a safe distance from the playground. Of course, when a huge hot air balloon descends nearby, people like to gather. By the time they were 200 feet from the ground, there must have been 50 or 60 men, women, and children watching at quite close quarters. Fortunately, with such light winds, the balloon was going to make a very soft landing. Jim had already reached the car park. Technically, he wasn't really permitted to drive across the park, but being a local, he knew that as long as he was careful, no one would complain. It was a simple matter to drive the four-wheel Land Rover and trailer to meet the balloon as it touched down and gently toppled over on its side. Simon was already out of the gondola, holding the head balloon line into what little wind there was. Tony had the tethering line from the gondola ready to attach to the Land Rover. Meanwhile, the professor turned all the propane tank valves off. Jim jumped out of the Land Rover, greeting everyone with, "How did it go?" Tony replied, "It was amazing, Jim. Simply amazing." Then he walked to the Land Rover to tether the gondola. The professor completed his safety procedures. Climbing out of the gondola, he said to them all, "Please, let's not talk now. Let's wait till we get back home." It didn't take too long to uncouple the gondola, take out the propane tanks, and then disconnect the burners, putting them to one side, ready to load into the trailer. The balloon would take a little longer as it needed to be laid out carefully, then folded in a certain way to prevent damage. As they started this process, a little voice could be heard to say, "Hello, Professor." The professor looked up to see Alex and Nathalie with their dog, Monty. Nathalie answered, "We're great. Thank you, Professor. We saw you flying above as we walked Monty around the park. May we go on a flight with you soon, please?" asked Alex. "Alex, I'm sure we can arrange that after we have spoken to your parents," answered the professor. Nathalie replied, "Thank you so very much, Professor." The professor hands Nathalie his business card. "Could you ask your parents to call me? We can then all meet to choose when I can take you for a flight." "Thank you, Professor. That would be wonderful," she said, grinning from ear to ear. Nathalie and Alex thanked the professor again, then headed home with Monty to talk to their parents. They were so excited that they walked quickly, eager to get their parents' approval for a hot air balloon ride with the professor. Jim, Simon, Tony, and the professor finished loading up the trailer and drove the 3 miles back to Mandalay. Driving into the barn, they were all talking about what they had just seen. Jim listened intently, trying to fathom the enormity of what they had just done, but stunned in disbelief at what they were jabbering on about. As they all walked across the courtyard to the kitchen door, the professor exclaimed, "Let's break out some champagne to celebrate." They all congregated around the kitchen table as the professor found the glasses. He happily pulled out a bottle of chilled Taittinger champagne from the refrigerator, which he had taken from his wine cellar earlier for just such a moment. There is an art to opening a bottle of champagne without having the contents spray all over the place. After taking off the wrapper, you unwind the muselet, then take hold of the bottle, tilting it at around 45 degrees. Then, holding the cork firmly, you twist the bottle gently and the cork will pop out without spraying its contents everywhere. The professor was most proficient at this art, and he loved the opportunity to imbibe champagne. With a deft movement of his hands, then a slight pop as the cork left the bottle, the champagne was soon flowing into the waiting glass flutes. Having filled all the glasses, the professor raised his saying, "Let's have a toast to the amazing globe." They all raised their glasses to the globe. They all chimed in unison.